film series called Gasland, already under scrutiny for making accusations about fracking that many say are just plain false. Well, now the filmmaker behind that two-part series is facing more allegations of misleading the public. And our next guest says he can prove both films are fueled with lies. Joining us from Energy in Depth is Steve Everley. Hi, Steve.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing well. So we reported on this program many times that there was something misleading in the first Gasland. The filmmakers made it seem as though the folks in this community where fracking existed could light their tap water on fire. There you go. We're showing a clip of it. Well, it turns out that they've been able to light their tap water on fire for decades, long before fracking came to their town, because there is some gas in their water. So that was the first Gasland that was then revealed as being misleading. What's happening in Gasland 2, the second part of this series?
Well, he's back with the same antics, the director Josh Fox. The first one, the scene that you just showed there, was out in Colorado. 2 years before that movie was ever released, Colorado regulators actually investigated it and determined it had nothing to do with oil and gas activity. They couldn't have been more clear. And in Gasland Part 2, the iconic scene is a flaming hose, where a guy lights his garden hose on fire, and we're supposed to believe that the water is on fire. The problem is that he's hooked that up to a gas vent. A judge had actually determined that they had made a deceptive video. They worked together with a consultant to get EPA involved in that case. And once again, state regulators determined it was not due to oil and gas activity. So the iconic scene in both of his movies has been debunked directly by state environmental regulators.
Now, when the filmmaker, Josh Fox, is called on these things and it's pointed out to him that this is misleading, what's his response?
Well, he just kind of changes the subject. And this is something we've seen over and over again, not just from Josh Fox, but frankly from a lot of folks who are opposed to hydraulic fracturing. They levy a bunch of claims. They leverage a lot of media attention for it. But in the end, if they get called on it and if they get questioned, it actually turns out that there is no evidence to support them, or at least not any evidence to support what they're trying to suggest is the cause of this.
And did they think that we wouldn't figure this out? I mean, did they think that folks like you and your organization wouldn't go back and find the paperwork and call them on it?
I think that's probably what they hoped. But I think what you have to realize here is that a lot of the people who are making these videos and making these kinds of movies and claims in the public are just opposed to oil and gas activity. And they've found this word fracking, which sounds like something you wouldn't say to your grandmother, and they've just sort of leveraged that to say, oh, well, everything oil and gas is fracking. And by the way, they ignore all of the environmental benefits that hydraulic fracturing has provided. Natural gas, which is being released by hydraulic fracturing, we're at a 20-year low in carbon dioxide emissions because of natural gas. People are breathing cleaner air. OPEC is actually scared of shale development in the United States because we're taking their market share. There are a lot of benefits to this, and they just categorically ignore all of those and just want to oppose oil and gas development, so they just throw this word fracking out there as much as possible and hope the public doesn't figure it out.
Well, Steve Everley, you're from Energy in Depth. You can use the F word on our show anytime, as long as it's fracking. Thanks so much for explaining all this.
Thank you.
Okay.